Jesus Christ, man, that teaser was disgusting. All that body horror is so upsetting to look at and will stick with me in all of my nightmares when I get my 3 hours of sleep every night. Clayface is by far my favorite Batman villain, so I had really high hopes for this film, and thankfully, the teaser does such a great job showing us what to expect. Call me a sick freak if you will, but I hope this movie is even more disgusting than the trailer lets off. I want to be sick to my stomach in that theater. Fun fact, the teaser dropped while I was eating lunch, and those horrific visuals made sure I lost my entire appetite, and I love it. If your Clayface teaser doesn't make me want to throw up, then you shouldn't be making the movie at all. Take notes, Joker. That is how you do a villain movie. Actually embrace what the character's about and have something to say more than just, we live in a society. Okay, I should probably actually talk about the teaser now because I don't know how much time I have left before I puke up all the mac and cheese I just ate from staring at these visuals for so long. Right off the bat, I want to say this is a perfect teaser. I have no notes for it. It does such a great job getting you interested in the movie and giving you a good idea of the tone, all while luring you in with promises of what else they're hiding. I don't need to know any story beats, especially when it comes to a horror movie. I want to know as little as possible going into this film, and this teaser understands that. To me, the mark of a good teaser is that they don't tell you anything about the plot, but they let you know how the movie is going to make you feel, and this teaser does exactly that. So much gorgeous imagery that does a great job showing you the body horror the film has to offer, all while still perfectly encapsulating the central story of a character like Clayface. I think that the mark of a good cinematic universe is when they're able to balance multiple different tones rather than everything being so homogenized. The fact that a movie like Clayface can exist in the same universe as Superman is amazing and shows me that the DCU understands what they're doing. And I really love the way this footage is edited together, starting with a slow zoom on Matt's disfigured face with a long, unblinking stare as his eyes are wide open, probably because he's unable to close them without feeling immense pain. It is perfect imagery. The closer you get, the more unsettling it is, as you can see every little pore ripped apart and stitched back together. And it's all tied together with these jump cuts that add a lot to the trailer. We briefly get to see the highs and lows of his life, and it does a good job catching you off guard as they lean into the horror vibe, going from his normal face to his face melting off in a split second. It is also carefully crafted to show us how unstable Matt Hagen's life has become, with his face more volatile than ever, changing on a dime. Or this one shot here that I regret pausing on, and I'm so sorry to make you see it, where it looks like they're sticking a needle in his eye. Oh god, that shot is going to stick with me for all the wrong reasons. I have a deathly fear of needles, so I might not survive this movie, but it's all worth it to see my beloved Mudman on the big screen. Imagine if the process to get the Renew You substance inside of him that will rejuvenate him and help heal his face involves injecting every part of his body with a needle. I'm cringing at just the thought of it. I don't like that at all, but it would go so hard in a movie. I assume that's what this substance is here that we see brief flashes of that's going to be injected into him in the most horrifying way possible. To get away from that gross topic to a very different gross topic, though, I love all the different looks we have at his face melting away. Each time we see it, it is more disturbing than the last, until we get this final shot at the end of the trailer where he wipes his face away, showing he's become more malleable than ever and losing touch with his humanity. It's this shot right here, though, that's by far my favorite effect shot in the entire trailer, as we see him screaming with his mouth stretching like that. It seems like the Renew You is going to begin fusing his mouth together to the point where he can't even scream, and he's going to have to rip his own face apart just to let out a sound. Oh god, that's gonna be horrifying to look at, and I'm so excited to see it. The prospect of a Clayface body horror movie is one of those pitches that I can't believe nobody's ever done before. He is the perfect character to explore this genre and go even further than other movies were able to, as he's able to completely change his body in the creepiest way possible. It has the potential to be like The Substance for comic book movies, which was basically like the Clayface for horror movies, if that makes any sense. So I cannot wait to see more of it. Oh yeah, for those who don't know yet, there are tons of different Clayfaces in the comics, but this version is going to be focusing on Matt Hagen while also adapting Basil Karlo's origin story. It's basically what Batman the Animated Series did. It seems like we're going to be getting Feet of Clay in live action, which is the story of an actor who gets his face destroyed by a mob pit and turns to an experimental and extremely addictive substance called Renew You to restore his looks. He is a really great and tragic character as somebody who had the world in the palm of his hand before it was taken away from him, now having the most depressing fall from grace and public crash out because of it. So imagine all that, but instead of being told through the lens of a children's TV show, we get it in an R-rated body horror movie. That is why I'm so excited about this film. It's a heartbreaking story of vanity and addiction, as Matt needs the spotlight just as much as this drug. And then he also has some of the coolest powers ever with the ability to shapeshift. And I can't exactly blame the guy. If I looked like this and lost my face, I'd also become a supervillain. We only get to see a few expressions from Tom Rhys-Harries in this trailer, but he is so captivating. Having those movie star looks is incredibly important for a character like Clayface, so great job you got someone hot to play him. But even better that he's able to portray all of the pain and anguish that comes with a character like Clayface with just a look look alone. Also, whoever decided to make Do You Realize by the Flaming Lips the soundtrack for this teaser deserves a Nobel Peace Prize. What an incredible choice that does such a great job getting across the messaging of this movie. The twisted irony of the line, "Do you realize you have the most beautiful face?" as we see the remnants of Matt is crushing. It's a really good way to give that line a double meaning as they drive the point home more about how Matt is mourning the loss of his beautiful face. But outside of any context the trailer adds, the song itself feels like it was written for this movie specifically. Do You Realize is a song all about how mortality is fleeting. It is a call to cherish your life because it can change at any moment. That is exactly the tragedy of Clayface. Before he got horribly disfigured, Matt didn't appreciate his life as an actor. He was taking things for granted and thought the ride would last forever. He didn't take those words seriously, and now they've come back to haunt him as he realizes in real time just how fast life can switch on you. They're basically using this song to rub salt in the wound and act as a twisted reminder to appreciate what you have because you could end up like him, and nobody wants to do that. It might be cool being able to become a living mudman, but you still have to be a living mudman at the end of the day, okay? Furniture is completely out of the picture. And the way the song starts repeating as the trailer progresses too does a lot to add to the tension and uneasiness of the entire thing. I'm never going to be able to listen to that song the same way again, but you know what, that's fine. Sacrifices have to be made to get great trailers like this. As much as I do wish we got to see my old muddy buddy in the trailer, I think it's smart to hold off on the big reveal until the movie actually releases. Since this is going to be a horror movie where Clayface is probably the slasher of his own film, I think it's important that they don't go all out and show us him in his final form in the trailer, especially when it comes to the teaser. It's gonna hit so much harder seeing Matt actually transform in the movie itself. It is very funny to think, though, that this is supposed to be the same Clayface who appears in Creature Commandos one day, so we know he goes on to become a video game playing Chud, but nobody really remembers Creature Commandos, so let's just pretend that doesn't happen, okay? But I am glad we did get a confirmation that he will be doing things like turning his hand into a giant mace. That feels very comic booky to me, and barring that's not a one-off, it's a good indication that they understand this character and know what they're doing. He's not just gonna be a guy with a melting face and will actually be able to transform his body in larger-than-life ways. It is the perfect blend of genres as they embrace both the horror and comic book elements. It's not just Clayface in name only, as they're actually making a movie about the DC comic character Clayface, expanding on his origin to make it as tragic and gruesome as possible. I have honestly wanted a project like this for so long. I cannot believe it's taken us this many years to get there. Giving a villain their own movie and actually telling their story as is. They're not changing it up and shying away from the comic book elements in order to be taken more seriously. No, this is a movie about Clayface first and foremost, where we see how the man became the monster. That is why I'm so confident this movie isn't going to be another Morbius situation, because God knows we need to avoid that at all costs. I have been very outspoken in the past about how much I hate these Sony villain movies, but I promise you, Clayface is different. First off, there's no Jared Leto in this movie, so it is already better off in that regard. But secondly, Clayface is a character whose origin doesn't involve any other characters they don't have the rights to. And he corners a very unique genre to the point where you can tell the entire story without ever including Batman whatsoever, and the origin is still just as strong. It might arguably be even stronger as you can focus heavily on how much of a monster he truly is. And then finally, the trailer makes it abundantly clear that they aren't running away from his comic history and he's still going to become a villain. Meanwhile, for some reason, they tried to turn Morbius into an anti-hero. Truly baffling stuff I've never been able to wrap my mind around. If I could just keep jumping around real quick, another cool thing this trailer gives us is our first look at DCU Gotham City. That's huge that we're finally kicking that door down as Brave and the Bold is in development hell right now. Overall, I do think it looks pretty good. I would have preferred if it were more gothic, but we've only seen 2 shots of it so far, so I'll let it slide for now. The neon Gotham aesthetic has always been my favorite as the bright lights contrast the dirty, grimy streets, so I'm glad that aesthetically they're going to be going that direction in the DCU. Oh, hey, look, I just noticed that's Amusement Mile right there. That's cool. But here's the thing. The big question now, though, is do we think Batman is going to appear in this movie? If there was any place for him to show up in the DCU before Brave and the Bold, it would be here. He traditionally shows up during Clayface's origin to stop him once his vanity-fueled rage starts destroying the city, so you'd think Batman would show up, right? It could be a really fun way to give us this big third-act battle as Batman acts as the antagonist of the movie. All that being said, there is a better chance that I show up in this movie before Batman does. If Batman was going to appear in Clayface, there's no way it wouldn't have leaked by now. The movie has already been fully shot, and we have not heard any DCU Batman Batman casting rumors whatsoever. So unless James Gunn suddenly learned how to keep a secret, I don't expect to see Batman show up in the film. And you know what? Good. Let's keep this Bat freak as far away from my beloved Mudman as long as possible. This is his time to shine without getting caught in some Bat freeze ray that inevitably destroys him. Although, I would like if the post-credit scene was a bat signal or something. Just let us know he's out there, please. This really is one of the best DC teasers of all time that perfectly encapsulates the tone of the character and gives us such a great idea of what this movie is going to be. I have never been more excited to probably end up peeing my pants watching a movie before. Ever since I first saw Clayface in the famous Feet of Clay episode of Batman the Animated Series, he's always been a character I've been fascinated with. Believe it or not though, it wasn't until I saw him in the Lego Batman game that it solidified him as my favorite Batman villain, and I've never looked back since. Come on, look at this guy right here and tell me he's not the GOAT. It also helps that we had some good adaptations in the Arkham game that helped me fall in love with that character, along with reading his comics. He is just such a fascinating villain, and I love every aspect about him. His tragic origin paired with the addiction allegory is already interesting enough, but then you throw in some of the most visually striking powers in all of comics, and it elevates him to one of my all-time favorite villains. I'm so glad he's getting this movie treatment because I never thought it'd be something that actually happened, especially with the genre's track record, and it's turning out better than I ever could have expected. So I cannot wait to be seated. Oh god. Yep, the visuals finally did it. I gotta go throw up now. This mac and cheese is not agreeing with me anymore, so I'm gonna go ahead and end the video there. Stay strong. Here we go. Outro time. Why don't you just let me know what you thought about the Clayface teaser? I would genuinely love to hear what everyone has to say and continue the conversation down below. And while you're at it, make sure to give this video a like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. If you don't do it at this rate, I'm just gonna puke on you, so subscribe or you're gonna be a mess.